Recording in progress.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and it's good to see you all here today. So we've been discussing Dogen's final fascicle of the Shobogenzo about the 8 qualities or characteristics or traits of a mature person, of a good person. And we're up to number 5, which is not losing sight of true Dharma, not losing sight of true Dharma. Fumonnen, not losing sight. And Dogen says in this short passage, the 5th quality is also called observing the true teaching. This is also called keeping true Dharma. Maintaining and not losing sight of true Dharma is called practicing the true teaching. This is also called not losing sight of the teaching. The Buddha said, monks, in searching for a true teacher and good protector, there is nothing better than always being mindful of the Dharma. Those who stay aware and are not careless or forgetful in their actions will not be torn apart by the various thieves of greed, ignorance, or anger. For that reason, monks, you should take in and be mindful of the teaching. Those who lose sight of staying aware will lose all merit and benefit as well. As a result of constantly maintaining, determined and mindful, though you may be among the thieves of the 5 senses, you will never suffer from harm from them. It is like wearing armor, being in a strong encampment. There will be nothing to fear. This is called not losing sight of true Dharma. So true Dharma, what is that? Well, it's clear in this passage he's talking about the teachings of the Buddha, fundamental teachings. And all of the teachings are not the truth in themselves, but they point to the truth. They are skillful means directing us to something that is true, which we would perhaps call reality. And the characteristics of these teachings pointing to reality are that everything, all phenomena, are interconnected. That it is a way of perceiving the world, perceiving everything that is not ego-centered, that is not tainted by greed, hatred, and delusion, that recognizes the impermanence of assembled things, that everything that has been assembled will at some point disassemble. So I would like to read Uchiyama, who wrote a commentary, the 20th century Zen teacher, who wrote a commentary on this passage, because he has a particular take on it. In Zazen, it is then that we can see the reality of the true living force, inclusive of all sentient beings and inclusive of the whole universe. If our mind and spirit are calm and humble, then we can sense this reality. However, at times we aren't settled and we aren't going to perceive this. But whether we do perceive this, that we are indeed a life inclusive of all sentient beings, that we are indeed that life that fills the universe, then it is enough to clarify it and carry out living actions. So even if we don't perceive this, it's enough to clarify it and carry out living actions. Now, it's not inevitable that this will be perceived. However, whether it's perceived or not, we are still that life that includes the whole universe and all sentient beings. To express it more simply, it would be like this. Parents, children, and grandchildren are all interconnected. My parents were born, they lived, and they died. I was born, I live my life, and I will die. And anyhow, my children were born, and they're living, and they too will die. Not only that, all the people I have encountered in my life were born, they're living now, and at some point they will die. Every living thing has a birth, is living, and will die. What is the significance of this? Ultimately, being born, living, and dying, we are inside this one grand living force. In fact, every one of us is part of this life that enfolds the entire universe, of the life that constitutes all sentient beings. There just is no other person. Now, we understand that well. What is the significance? To love and to have a cherishing or loving mind, in Japanese, itsushimu, means to be connected, to be tied together. In other words, the moment we feel that connection, that is cherishing and loving. This connection applies not only to human beings, it also applies to grasses, trees, and insects. Everything is connected. At the same time, when all things ultimately die, everything feels that sadness. Everything feels that love. In Buddhism, that is referred to as jihishin, compassionate mind. When we see the reality of all life, we feel the connection with all things. This is the sense of jihishin, of compassionate mind. When our mind is at ease, we can understand this. So, Uchiyama often uses this term life force as something that is all-pervading, that we all participate in, that we are all included in. So in a sense, everything belongs. The squirrels that constantly raid what we call a bird feeder belong. The people that we disagree with belong. And we belong, whether we're having a good day or a bad day, we belong. So a few months back, I happened into a couple bowls that I liked at Goodwill and purchased them. And then developed an interest in, well, perhaps maybe I should have a couple more similar bowls so that we have at least 4. And looking on eBay, I found 3 reasonably priced bowls of the same vintage. Of course, they can't be purchased new now. They're out of production. So I ordered them. And they came in the mail. Like this. So one of the bowls was intact, and 2 of the bowls were broken. The seller had not really prepared these bowls adequately for the rigors of the Postal Service. So 2 of the bowls had gone the way of all bowls. All bowls will eventually break. And one of the bowls was intact. And if I take very good care of it, it might end up in my estate sale, but it somebody somewhere along the line will drop the bowl and it will break. So the broken bowls are included, and the intact bowl as well, and the seller who packed the bowls is included, belongs. All of these things belong. So I contacted the seller, and we worked out an amicable arrangement. But all things that are assembled will disassemble. So how not to lose sight of this larger view as we get wrapped up in the day-to-day? Well, not losing sight is the same concept as sati or mindfulness. And sati in Pali is related to the Sanskrit word smriti. And smriti is the Indo-European, comes from the same Indo-European root as our word remember. So not only does sati or mindfulness refer to being aware of what's happening right now, but it's also remembering what you intend to remember. Sometimes this is called keeping the Buddha in mind. So Dogen in this passage is encouraging us to keep the Buddha in mind, to keep the teachings in mind which point to the reality of our existence as humans on this earth. And there are different ways of doing that. And Uchiyama recommends meditation to still the body and quiet the mind. But all of this remembering really, I think, must, at least for me, must be done on a daily basis in some manner. It doesn't have to be meditation. There are other ways of keeping the Buddha in mind. Reading. studying the texts, listening to talks, just taking a pause, taking 3 breaths, especially when feeling stressed or threatened. And various rituals can be helpful. Chanting, maintaining an altar, having images about that you can use to remind you of your intention, or having a phrase such as keeping the Buddha in mind. Or, what is this? Or, how can I be of benefit in this situation? There are many phrases one could use, and some of them may resonate with you. So I think I'll stop at this point, and with the question of how do we keep the teachings in mind? How do we keep the Buddha in mind? What works for you? We'll go into breakout rooms now, and I'll be back in a few moments.